Hi Pep. What's the plan now for the next 2 days? Will you have enough time to prepare the side for Arsenal? Are you going to give them a rest, full training? What's going to go on?
No, we are going to make hiking in the mountains. We're going to do that these 2 days. I don't know. Tomorrow recovery. The players we have a lot of injuries there, but yeah, rest, and energy for on Sunday.
Have you spoken to the Premier League or UEFA or anyone about the schedule?
Don't go for that side. Not necessary.
Rob?
I know you've just spoken about Rodri briefly then, but is he capable, do you think, of starting 3 games of that intensity in 1 week with United, Napoli tonight, and then possibly Arsenal on Sunday?
It's a good question. I don't know yet. But he was so smart. I know there's always not over. 1-0 is always tricky, but he doesn't feel good. Always we try to talk, please. We have to sustain and feel that not comfortable, and it's better. We see day by day. But important play already 2 games. Yesterday, for example, the training session, he didn't feel much comfortable. He didn't train good, but said, no, I will be fine tomorrow. And play extraordinary like Rodri is, and with him in the pitch we feel more comfortable. But of course, come from a tough injury, have to be alert, and we will decide on Sunday how does he feel.
Hi Pep, have you rewatched the defeat at Arsenal last season this week at all? Is there anything you kind of look back and take from that game, or is it one of those off days you had last season that you just try and?
But the game last season we started it happened many times last season, and the 14 team, we give away 1,000 million goals. And after we were, during a lot of the time, pretty good considering how we was last season, and the last 50-20 minutes was a disaster. We forgot to do what we had to do, and everyone do it there, and after that, Arsenal was easy for them. But hopefully this season we can make a little bit more challenge in the last years, because Mikel is an extraordinary manager, and what they increase the squad for these 4 or 5 transfer windows. So it's an unbelievable squad, an unbelievable team. It's one of the toughest opponents you can find right now in Europe. And we see what we have to do, and the players how are fit, and we try to compete where I want compete to be better team than that was the last season, especially in the last 20-25 minutes.
And do you think those kind of disastrous spells you had occasionally in games last season are gone now, that they're out of the system of this team, and it's
Sorry?
Do you think you mentioned a disastrous 15-20 minutes there, and you had spells like that in a few games last season? Do you think they're gone now? They're a thing of the past for this team?
No, you should ask me after Brighton 10 days ago. I know what the people say. They were not good, really. I know my team was consistent, because when you win 6 Premier Leagues, we have been a machine, the consistent team, and for that you have to prove more. But of course we arrived the week against United, against Napoli, and now that is not I would say easy week, but in the Premier League always like that. And important the feeling, the vibe of the team, body language especially. I'm just focused on that. The kindness and the body language of the team has grew up, and I'm pretty pleased for that, and hopefully we can win or lose. Always going to try, but when you see the team is in good vibe, that is what you have to try to do.
Pep, with all that in mind, how key can a game like this, albeit still early in the season as well, against one of your potential title rivals be? Because obviously you can move level on 9 points with Arsenal now as well.
Listen, it's the 5th game. Will be the 5th game, no? The 5th game of the season? Yeah. Come on.
Would it put a different complexion on the start to the season?
Sir Alex Ferguson, when I arrived here, said to Brian Keat, said, the Premier League, you have to, after Boxing Day, stay close to the top 4. And after that, you can think about it. Last season, after Boxing Day, we were in another country. So that's why, let's go today, we'll see what happens. So there are many games. For experience, in the 6 Premier Leagues, I think 4 or 5, we were in December, January, was behind Liverpool and behind Arsenal. And at the end, we won it. So that's why see the team growing up. That is all my concern right now. See the team make a step forward every day. We're not going to win the Premier League on Sunday. We're not going to lose the Premier League on Sunday. So we see the team that we are better than last season there, and we are better, and continue a little bit many good things that we have done in these 2 games, and continue with that.
Mikel, good to see you.
Hello.
2 big wins following the international break, so you must feel in a good place heading into Sunday.
Yeah, two very important wins. Very good feeling about the games as well, and yeah, preparing for a big match for Sunday.
Ben White, Bukayo Saka and Martin Odegaard missed the trip to Spain in midweek. Have they got any chance of featuring on Sunday?
If there is a chance, will be after tomorrow's session because they haven't done anything yet. So we will have more information tomorrow.
And just to check, Mikel Merino and Victor Gyokeres picked up head injuries on Tuesday. Are they absolutely fine?
Yeah, they are fine. They will be available.
William Saliba, an unused substitute on Tuesday. Can we expect him to come straight back into the starting 11 on Sunday?
Let's see. Obviously, he's been carrying an injury. He's done really well to be available for the last match, and yeah, he's really pushing it. So we'll decide tomorrow what's the best start.
And today the club announced a number of changes at a boardroom level. Will that have any impact on what you do here on a day-to-day basis?
No, well, there've been quite a lot of changes since I arrived at the club. First of all, obviously, Tim is leaving, and I would like to say a few words because he's been someone that I really enjoy working with. I think he has a tremendous contribution for everything that we've done over the last few years. Then on Rich, congratulations, obviously, because it's a massive role to be the CEO of this football club. And then welcome to the new members of the board. That hopefully they're going to make us better and help us and bring ideas and support and make this club much better. It's ultimately a Stan's and Joe's decision. They've been incredibly supportive, so we move on again.
And finally for me, it's still very, very early in the season, but just how significant is this match in terms of the title race, in terms of staying close to Liverpool and potentially building a gap to Manchester City?
Yeah, it's about winning again and creating, another good moment for us. Consistency, competing against one of the best teams, obviously, in the world, and good test for us to see our level as well.
Go to Nick from PRP.
Hi.
Good afternoon. You know Pep Guardiola probably better than all of us in this room. How demanding do you think it's been for Pep to be at this level for so many years, to be achieving what he achieved in so many countries, and also how much do you think he evolved his coaching and management in the last few years?
Well, yeah, the demands that he puts first of all on himself, the standards that he requires for everybody around him, his will to win, to evolve, to improve. You look around him always, he wants to surrender about the best people. For me, he's by far the best coach in the world. I always said it. I had the pleasure to work with him and win a lot with him next to him. So, yeah, it's always great to see him back.
Noni Madueke, when you had a look at him in the summer, what made you decide to recruit him from Chelsea? And how do you think you and your coaching staff are getting such a wonderful version of him?
Yeah, well, because I was sure that he was a player with a talent and quality that we didn't have in the squad. A player with a level of threat and unpredictability that he was going to make us better. The moment I picked up the phone, I spoke to him and his dad and his agent. The three of them gave me the impression that they were really willing to come, that they saw something special here they wanted to be part of. And then, yeah, you have to come here and slowly start to get to know him, and he needs to start to get to understand the team. But I think so far the impact he's having in the team, it's very, very positive.
And Martin Zubimendi, how pleased are you with the way you settled here? How would you describe the balance in midfield gives you and the partnership with Declan Rice as well?
Yes, another one that obviously coming from abroad is always very tricky, especially with the demands in this league and in that particular position, because you have so much responsibility in that role and you have to be aware of everything that we do. But such an intelligent boy, a lot of presence, a lot of quality and a lot of courage to play football.
Alex, BBC.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi.
No goals conceded from open play, and Christian Mosquera has been a key part of that, a young player coming in and summer signing. Why do you think you have been so solid this season?
Well, first of all, because he's very good, and I think credit to the scouting department, Andrea, that they presented the opportunity to have him. Again, no coincidence, as a boy, someone extremely focused, very determined, very clear that he wanted to come here, and he wanted to come here to play, and in his place, I think what he's doing in that position so early, very impressive.
Just on White, Saka and Odegaard, you said decision after tomorrow's session. Have they trained already, or would that be their first session?
Because everything has been modified so far for him, and still a few things to clear. And tomorrow we'll have more information whether they are part of the squad or they have a chance to be part of the squad or not.
Darren, let's start with you because you're all about the narratives, and this one is always going to be the master versus the student, isn't it?
It is, and to be fair, the student has done really well to beef up his team and his squad and his defensive base in order to take on the firepower that the master has. We all know what Erling Haaland can do. 12 goals across 6 of the 7 games he's played in so far. But Arsenal come into this in really, really good form. They've only conceded in 1 of their 5, is it 5, 4? 4 Premier League games so far, and that was an exceptional strike from Dominic Szoboszlai in the game against Liverpool. But the defensive strength they have at their disposal is outstanding. They had the best defence in the Premier League for the last 2 seasons. In front of that defence, they've got Zubimendi, the European Championship winner, absolutely outstanding in a very underrated position. And they now have that striker, Gyokeres. They can win games 1-0. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be spectacular. But now they've got the balance in that side that says to all of their fans as well as the players, we can go to war with a club like City.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about that Arsenal midfield, actually, because I think at Anfield, he was criticised, Arteta, for being a little bit too conservative in the way in which they approach the game. How do you think they approach this one? And what do you think is that best 3 in the middle?
Well, everybody approaches Anfield conservatively. We did as well. And we had a better team than our side with the utmost respect, man. You go to Anfield with respect because you can get hurt there. And the same thing when you're going to play, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. They, in terms of personnel and players, Arsenal have a great squad, but City have a better one. So I think Mikel's clever. You approach that game with respect and a little bit of, you can bring players on to change the game. So I think for the first time, Mikel has a team to compete to win the Premier League. I don't think he had one before. I think the squad is for the first time with a puncher's chance to say, right, come on, City, come on, Liverpool. Let's see what you got. And I think with Gyokeres and all these players that are coming out, I just think Zubimendi, I think now they can go toe-to-toe. And that's why this season is so important for Arsenal.
Oh, and do you think they'll play 3 in that with Arsenal, Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard? Or do you think they'll play Odegaard and Rice together and maybe push... Rice and Zubimendi together and push Odegaard further forward?
Zubimendi will play. Just like you said, he's a European champion. He knows how to play in a big game like that. And you want to find a way to keep the ball against City. So I'd be shocked if Zubimendi didn't play. But I think now that midfield, you look at Arsenal's midfield, it's great. Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard. But actually City now with Rodri, Reinders and Phil Foden back to being Phil Foden, that's box office. So be curious to see who comes out on top there.
Yeah, very interesting battle happening in the midfield, especially considering he dropped Rice, I think, for the Forest game. Let's talk about that Arsenal forward line, because you said for the first time now they have a squad that can really compete. That's very impressive. And they were plugging gaps. They were playing Merino up top last season. Now it's very different. And I think one player who got a lot of flack when he joined Arsenal, Arteta did, was Madueke. Yeah. And I think he's been impressive so far.
Yeah, he's a very good player. And the cool thing about Madueke is he can play both sides. He can play left or right. And I think now even you think about Eze, you see there the goal from Zubimendi. I always say to even my son's team, sit at the edge of the box on corners, the ball will come to you, and it always says that is a great strike. This ball from California is crazy, and this ball from Eze is nuts. Honestly, that goal is amazing. People always try to play between the lines, but sometimes if they come press, play beyond them. Gyokeres has started in brilliant form, obviously with 3 goals. And you think about Madueke, your point, Eze, Gyokeres, and then you got Saka, obviously, and Martinelli and Ødegaard. You got all these options in case somebody gets injured. That's why I think Arsenal can, for the first time, say, come on, bring it on.
It will be a fascinating game because of what's at stake. If City were to lose this game, and assuming Liverpool win the Merseyside derby, they would be 9 points behind Liverpool at the top. They'd be 6 points behind Arsenal in second. And I wonder, and you know about playing in all these big games, whether that will affect the way that City go into it. They can't go on the attack and leave gaps for a defence that's kind of finding its way still, even though they've got the experience between the sticks.
Yeah, I still think the 2 fullbacks, for City, they're finding something there. I think, obviously, with Donnarumma is a huge plus to them. He could turn out to be the biggest transfer of anybody, I think, and I think he gives them stability in terms of those big moments he can make saves. But I was at the game at the Etihad against Man United, and even United had some, even though the scoreline suggested it was one-sided, United had some moments on the counter-attack where they could have got something. So I think Pep will approach the game quite respectfully as well, because you never know, anything can happen in a game like that.
Yeah, he's actually gone 4 unbeaten without a win against Arteta, and it's never 5 in a row. So there's a little bit of history to be made as well. Let's talk more about Phil Foden, though, and the way he played in the derby and what you expect from him.
Yeah, I thought him and Doku were the 2 best players in the game. Obviously, Haaland got the headlines because of the goals. But Phil is just such a beautiful football player. He's so smart, can take the ball anywhere. I mean, look at that, his feet. Doku, I think, has just played incredible in the games that I've seen. That finish from Erling Haaland. And they need Phil and they need his energy, and I think they need Doku's energy. That little shift from Doku was fantastic. Great little header from Phil. Phil Foden, if you think about all the money that's been spent on all these players in the world, he cost them nothing. and he could end up being their best player. So I'm delighted to see Phil back to his best. He's a special kid. He's a special football player. And he could decide that form he's in.
I agree with that, because I think if you look at Foden and you look at Doku, as strong as their Arsenal defence is, the way that they play and their ability and creativity between the lines, they can pull players out of position to create opportunities for Haaland. And Haaland appears to be, and I think we started off by talking about the Champions League, the goal that Foden created for Haaland, on the run, nodding in, understanding the ball, reading that ball so well, it was a thing of beauty, as you say. And I think it was symptomatic of what City can do against an Arsenal defence that is so good.
You talked about Phil Foden and creating for Haaland. Let's talk about Haaland, because unbelievable, even by, as you mentioned, these standards, even by their own standards, because they have set such high standards for themselves. Even last season, when he's still scoring goals, you know, he's not up to that usual mark, and you say, he didn't have a great season. That's crazy.
But I think the great ones like Haaland, you know, they set their own standards. You know, he doesn't really have an equal in that. And, you know, people can talk about, you know, the footballing and the skills and all that. He's the best goal scorer there is, you know, and if you get him a chance, he's going to score 9 times out of 10. And I just love the fact, even for young kids watching, yeah, he scores goals and he always makes runs. But when he presses, he's all in. And I think the example he sets for strikers, say, you've got to go press, I think it has a huge impact on the rest of the team. But his goal scoring and his finishing, his athleticism is just, it's remarkable.
I'm going to ask you, obviously you've won the Champions League, you've played with some top strikers, including Rooney, etc. But Haaland's numbers are insane. 90 goals in 101 games for Manchester City. 19 out of 20 games in London he scored. Yeah. Where does he compare with the strikers you played with?
Oh, he's up there with them. But again, he doesn't have the body of work that they had. But you think we won the Champions League because we had Tevez and Rooney up front, and they were scoring, but they were pressing. And I think Haaland is just, he's just a machine. He's born to score goals. He shows that every time.
He also has 4 in 6 against Arsenal, and there's beef there. Talk to us about that narrative.
Yeah, there is that beef, because obviously he had to bust up with Marcelo Skelly, famously told him to be humble. And then when it all fell apart for City last season, they were reminding him of that. And he had to swallow it. But now they're back in business. Now they're back in form. He scored 5 goals against Moldova for Norway in their 11-1 win. And City are starting to find their stride again. So with that confidence, they go back to the Etihad, and you can bet your boots that if he were to score, he'll be reminding 1 or 2 players of the need to be humble.
Yeah, that's the soap opera. Those are the storylines, man. That's why we love this Premier League. Donnarumma, you mentioned him very briefly, but what a debut as well. A clean sheet.
Yeah, I mean, how he only cost, 25 million, I'll never know. At 26 years old, you know, he won the Champions League. Probably helped PSG win the Champions League with the big saves that he made in all those games. I really believe that could be one of the biggest signings of any team. And you look at Pep, everybody says, oh, he's not a Pep keeper because he's not great with his feet. He's good enough with his feet. Everybody said Haaland wasn't a Pep striker. And that's the cool thing about Pep. Pep continues to evolve on what he needs. He saw an option with Trafford's situation, hadn't really gone his way, realised we had to do something, and he did. And I think Donnarumma could, you know, he's one of the best, without question. The save he made against Mbeumo at the Etihad was... No, I don't think any other goalkeeper in the league outside of Alisson makes that save.
There was another save that he made against Cesc. It's more worrying him out of it, really, with the sheer size and his ability to spread himself and give him something to think about, and he missed the opportunity. But I think the interesting thing about Guardiola is that, as far as goalkeepers are concerned, he's decisive. If he brings one in and they don't work, they're gone. No time to stand on ceremony and worry and give him more of a chance. And Trafford, quite clearly, in that game, had made so many mistakes that he just thought, I can't afford to indulge him. I've got to bring in that quality. And when it becomes available... And I have to say, I was surprised that PSG let him go. But also PSG, they brought someone in who is very good anyway. They were terrific in midweek. So they might not feel that they've lost a lot, but City have certainly gained a lot.
Names with 8 derby goals and also 50 Premier League home goals in 50 Premier League home games. And he's the second fastest behind Alan Shearer to that particular stat as well. Now, if he can get firing like that and Foden back like he was today as well, is that a bit more like the Manchester City that we're used to?
Definitely, and I think also the players that have been here for a long period of time, they're really important, more than ever now, to almost integrate these new signings, because just playing too many new signings at once I don't think will work so much. So the likes of Foden coming back is really music to Pep Guardiola's ears. So yeah, that was impressive today. Phil Foden coming back is a big one, because obviously the likes of Haaland have never been away. They've been consistent right the way through. But Foden's poor season last season hopefully is in the past now, and he can continue where he left off.
Yeah, Steve, we talked about the game. We talked about leadership.
We did
in Man City team and the leaders that's left. Now Foden's come back, and you can see he's grown up. He's maturing, and he's talking a lot more than he's normally done. But there was also, I mean, obviously I was keeping an eye on that. Donnarumma plays his first game. We sat there, and he's all the time doing that, talking to them. So they've brought in more leadership, or he's been aware that he needs to bring more leadership in. And for someone like Phil Foden, who I think he was, with him and Docker, was probably the best two players in the Man City outfield players. I mean, he's such an important player to this team, and growing up, leading the team. I mean, he's a fantastic player, isn't he?
And at the end, when the full-time whistle went, it's a long time since I've seen you move so quickly from your seat next to me. I thought, where is he going? And there's the answer. Down to world-class Donnarumma. What was the godfather of Premier League goalkeeping saying to Donnarumma then?
No, but I've followed them in the Champions League, and I've spoken to him a lot of times. And I tell you what, he speaks English, by the way. And I've only managed to persuade him to come into an interview one time, and we had it back to the studio as well. So he was ears and everything. And I asked my first question, and he started to answer in Italian, and I had no clue. But, yeah, but we kind of, and over the last season, I kept saying to him, we want you at Man United. And he said, I'd love to come to England. I'd love to come to England.
You failed your audition as an agent there, didn't you?
I did. So I went to him and said, why are you doing here? Should be the other goal, But he says, I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very happy here. Yeah. And he showed it. He gave it to the team today, didn't he?
I'm sure he is. Getting back to Foden, I know what a big fan of you. Now De Bruyne is gone in that central area where he likes to play, where he played today, where he scored today. If he can stay injury-free and get back to the season before last, like Michael says, can that be almost like a new signing for City?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what teams pay for players now, whether you agree or not, some of the fees are ridiculous. He costs them nothing, and he's at least £100 million, but he's so special. He can speed it up, he can slow it down. He's a student of the game, he's smart, he's good with both feet. I mean, that kid is so unique in the way that he plays football, and I just thought today, last season, City lacked energy, big time. It was one of the biggest weaknesses. Having Phil in there, alongside Rodri and Mendes, I think it can give them a bit more. Even Doku, his energy was fantastic. So really delighted for Phil, because he's one of the best players we have in this country. Like 2 seasons ago, he was the best player in the country.
Yeah, 27 goals he got.
Amazing. So I was delighted for him, because he's a special kid.
Still only 20. Yeah, I mean, even for a man of his ability, Johnny, and he's saying it's not rocket science, is he? He couldn't wait to get Haaland fit last season, Foden fit again, Vardiol at the back today, Rodri back in the team, the last 2 starting it. I mean, he's got his big players, seemingly, the backbone of his team, back again.
Yeah, it's evident that when he's got his spine, they're very effective. And talking about Phil, I think that one of the biggest factors is belief. I think he needs to believe that he can be the main man in this team and the most influential player. And also Pep needs to recognise that Phil's probably a bit more creative than just being a system player. Like, yes, you can give the ball to Kevin in certain areas and he creates moments of magic, where Phil will just go, I'm just going to receive the ball here, turn. There's nothing really on. I'm going to create something. And I think a couple of seasons ago, he gave him the license to do that. So I think the more you give Phil that responsibility to just win the game and create little moments out with his individual brilliance, I think that's when we'll see the best of him.
And Michael, you were making a point. How important are the likes of Foden, Haaland, Stones, Diaz, Rodri, the ones who've been here, whilst the new players are integrated into the team?
Absolutely. That's I believe that's key. I don't think there's many times you look around years and see so many new signings and think and them hit the ground running. I mean, I look back at Nottingham Forest, were a team that bought loads of players 2 or 3 seasons ago and only just survived, but then they start moulding together. There's loads of examples. I think Fulham did it a few years ago and actually went down, even though they had come back up and they tried to pay their way to stay up in the Premier League. They went down. So I think when you sign so many players, I think it's really important to still have that core. And if you can integrate them with that core, then I think they will settle a lot better. Now, the jury will be out on a few of them. Donnarumma obviously is a big tick, proven, but there will be a few of them that have been bought just in recent times, the last transfer window or 2, that are still finding their feet, and it's vital for the experienced players to make them feel comfortable and almost integrate them into that team.
Yeah, it's a positive step forward today for City. They've got a week of tests now. They've got Napoli here on Thursday with Kevin De Bruyne coming back, and then Arsenal to play.
Yeah, to be fair, I thought they looked really good defensively. I think Vardiol, Diaz, that's a great partnership.
They've missed Vardiol, haven't they? Something of an unsung hero at times.
He's a great player. And actually, he's a centre-back. He played left-back, but he did a brilliant job there. I thought, again, O'Reilly was great at left-back. So, you got Donnarumma in there. You got the back 4 kind of set. Right-back is still an issue. But I thought Kusanov, he's athletic. He did some good bits, but on the ball, he's not really a Pep type of player. So I think having those 2 centre-backs in there with the keeper and Rodri, That's the basis to go and win the Premier League for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think the best partnership at the back.
Big call.
Which one?
No, basis to go and win the Premier League.
No, but look, you
to compete.
Yeah, but you won it. You had you in goal.
No, I know.
Two centre backs and Roy in front.
I get that. I mean, you've got to look at the competition. I don't think they're not there yet to compete. I don't think they are.
No.
I think they're still too inconsistent, and it will help, yes, to have that spine. You just said that there. There's still an issue on the right fullback.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
Yeah. No. So I still think they're a little bit off. They're a little bit off. They still need to. They still need to do a little bit better. And I think Pep needs to be more sure about what his best 11 is, which I don't think he knows what his best 11 is. And you can see the way that he's lined his teams up in the 4 games. Many changes. I don't think that helps. I think the consistency you need to win the Premier League, you need to play as many of your core players in every game, your best players, sorry, in every game.
I think he probably knows his best players in certain positions. Like touching on Owen's point, I don't think he knows his best right back.
No.
I think that's a factor. I think if he was push comes to shove, would he pick his best centre half partnership? Yes, I think he knows that. I think he knows his best left back. And this is
what would you say the best centre half?
John Stones and Diaz.
And then Guardiola on the left.
Yeah, and I think them 3 pick themselves. And if one of them is not available, Eke can come in and do a very, very good job. But the right back scenario, I think, if they're against Salah or Vinicius Jr., the elite games, when we're talking, they're the ones that define your season, then I don't know who he picks at right back. And I don't think he knows. I think he would pick the person in form.
But who could that be eventually? Because it won't be Kusevap in a big game, will it?
No. At the moment, if it was me, it'd probably be Rico Lewis.
Yeah.
Because he's the most natural one that has done it for the longest time. But again, is that the answer? Who knows? But I think throughout the team, he knows a lot of his best players in certain positions. But probably right back is probably where we're potentially vulnerable.